Welcome, everyone. Here we are with another topic which is very, very important. And it is how can we practice non-attachment with our children? That is probably the core of many, many other issues, which we're going to be talking about today. But before we enter, I just want to thank you so much to Sambhavi, Hansa, Gayatri, and to all of you for creating this very dynamic group. Parents, they need so much help, and you guys are doing a fantastic job with these meetings, with the meditations, with the healing prayers. It's just a joy to see all of you coming together, expanding, supporting each other. So thank you so much. So let's start with a prayer, and then we do introductions, and we go on in the topic for today. So we invite you to close your eyes. And just for a moment, if you find Yogananda your teacher, just bring him to mind. And if you don't, just open your heart. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahasaya, Swami Suyukteswar, and our beloved Guru, Paramhansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, we humbly bow to you all. Divine Mother, guide this reunion, help us to open our hearts, our minds, and fill us with your wisdom, with your joy, harmony, and peace, that we may share with all those around us, and especially guide us to guide our children, those little souls that you have sent us to be able to flower in this lifetime and fill us with your peace, joy, and love. Om peace. Amen. Let's close our eyes for just 1 minute. Om peace. Amen. We're going to introduce ourselves first. So, Atman, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think you already gave me somewhat of an introduction, but we've been living in Ananda Village for the last 30 plus years. We have one child that we raised here, was born and raised here, and is now 30 years old. And I've served in a number of different arenas, including the meditation retreat, the expanding light retreat, and as Bhaktimarg mentioned, as village manager. More lately, I've been doing sort of even general management, some with Ananda Sangha worldwide, and with the overall overview of some of Ananda stuff. So I got my fingers in lots of different things. I also work with the membership process, the Living Discipleship course, Chandi, Spanish ministry. So lots of different things, but it's always a joy to share with devotees.
And I have to add that he is an incredible father. He is just the best. Because I don't know others, but anyway, he is just really, really, really good. And I'm from Spain, but I married Adman 30 plus years ago, almost 40. And right now, what I'm doing is coordinating the Ananda in Spanish. And also, I direct the institute, well, the part of the Ananda Español that is teaching the path of Kriya and the meditation teacher training and other trainings and sharing the teachings in Spanish all over the world online in Spanish. So, but for 10 years, I was organizing the family programs in Ananda Village. And then COVID hit. Unfortunately, now Gayatri and other people are taking the reins, and they are organizing also family programs at Ananda Village. I also taught at the school that we have with Nitai and Irene, and I took classes with Usha about education for life. And I have to say that education for life saved my life and the life of my child too, because there were times that, oh boy, that was tough. But anyway, let's focus now on the subject that is bringing us all together here. And it's a very interesting subject because the first thing that we do when we give birth to this little soul, what is it? We just fall in love. It's just our hearts open. And it's like, oh, I want to protect this with all my life. And here we are. We are just totally attached to that little soul. And it's for a good reason, because it's not easy to have children and to raise children. But love is what it really helps us to keep going. And that you need to keep always in mind, is that in the love that we feel. And because it's so human to have attachments, it don't feel bad if you feel, oh my gosh, I'm so attached to my children and I cannot let them go. And don't worry, that's part of growing up and being a parent. And if you are at that point, that's fine. We're going to be talking more about it. And if there are some tips that you can use to be able to let go a little bit, fantastic. But the main thing is, and I would like to go back a little bit about how we were raised and think for a moment. How did your parents raise you? Were the kind of parents that they were really thinking, oh my gosh, be careful with that, don't do that, you're going to hurt yourself? Were they like that? Or they gave you space to explore, to fall down, to, give you the space so you can explore the world when you were little? Because I'm asking that question because this is what we're going to be bringing into our child raising, is the same way that we were raised. Those deep seeds are going to be there and they're going to flourish with the child. And I'm just going to share a story that happened with my son. Was about a year and a half, and he was sitting in the high chair. It was lunchtime, and I cooked the lunch. I put it on the tray for him to eat, and what did he do? He pushed the food, boom, down to the floor. And I don't know where it came from, but I started crying. And I was like, what happened? Why am I crying? Just because my son pushed the food down. And then a memory with my mother just surfaced. And she's like, oh my, here it is. So our children are going to be pushing our buttons that they are not resolved. And just be aware of that. And this is part of the game. And hi, Jen. Nice to have you. So think about that how important it is that we are aware how we were brought up and what can we do differently from a point of view that we are centered. The other thing that happened too is that anyway, everybody these days is really a challenge to raise kids. And when my son also was very little and Atman came home, I was so tired that he will come home and I, boom, gave the child. And I say, I'm going shopping. And Atman used to say, why don't you meditate? And I say, I don't want to meditate, I want to go shopping. I just wanted something to enjoy. But at the end, I went to the temple and I meditated. And for those of you who are meditators, and especially Kriyavans, try to meditate every day a little bit, because it brings your energy to the center, and then your child will notice that. And here is another story with our son. His name is Mark, and he was about 4 years old. And I got mad to him for whatever it was, I don't remember. He looked at me very to the eyes, very calm, very relaxed, and he told me, Mom, you didn't meditate today. And I said, oh my gosh, what a child. So the children really go by our vibration more than our words. And I'm going to pull up the first question we had in this Andres Felipe or Philip. He said, I was struggling with my own judgment, a confusion of not knowing how to guide him. Well, this is just a short version. So the story is that his 4.5 year old got a new coloring book, and the same one that he already had. So Andres wanted him to give that one away and keep the one that he already had. But he already started coloring the new one. So Andres said, I know that letting him have everything he wants is probably not going to be the best for him. Whereas at the same time, I couldn't reason with him about why he need to give always his gift. And so eventually we just settled on holding on to the new book until he finished the old one. And then once he finished with that one, we can talk about next steps. It really took a long time before he was able to transition to eat breakfast. This is not quite the topic, but I'm sure that many of you can relate to that kind of situation. And what I have to suggest is that you really take education for life training, because this is the kind of thing that we all parents we get stuck on. And it saved my life when my child was about 12 years old or so, that I did a training with Usha on education for life. And the support, it was incredible. And the reason I'm saying this is because in education for life, there are three groups mainly of the first 6 years, the next six, the 12. So the first one are the physical years. So between birth and 6 years old is the physical years. And here you cannot make reason work, because the kid is not ready for that. So it's much better to change the energy in this kind of situation. But again, Education for Life program is fantastic, and they do them online. I'll share the link with you later. So I want to stop here for now, because I know Atman has really good things to share too. Oh, thank you, Gayatri, you put it on. Great, thank you. It's on the chat right now. And Atman, would you like to share something?
Yeah, um, you can approach it from a lot of different ways, and as we learn in yoga teachings and philosophy, there's this great theories of what we're aiming for, and it's not always easy to get there, but it's always good to keep those in mind because that's really it's really truth. It's really what's going to bring us happiness. And just this morning, I was looking at the Bhagavad essence of the Bhagavad Gita, and Swami says in there that the source of all suffering in the world is that we wishing things other than what they are. And so it's just the acceptance. You have to work with what is. You have to be clear with what's right in front of you. And how often, when we're agitated, when we're angry, when we're emotion, we just say, something's not right. This isn't right. This shouldn't be. Something has to be different. There's something wrong with this kid. There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with the world. And we're just not accepting. And the first really step is what we're talking about today is we have to accept things as they are. That's yourself. That's where your child and current body and personality is at. That's where the world is at. And then you go, okay, this is a perfect situation given to us by God. Everything is in His control. Everything is perfect. What am I supposed to be doing here? What am I supposed to be learning? And you can work on from that on a lot of different levels. The easiest level, again, this is back to yoga, you start with yourself. You know, we can't change the world. So many people want to go out and, hey, if you're really spiritual, how come you're not trying to relieve suffering? If you're really doing, how come you're not out there campaigning for all these things? What can we really change except our own consciousness, our own self? And especially in parenting, changing that consciousness is going to be the lead in that's going to change your child's consciousness. Because what is it that we're really doing? We've been stewarded with this soul, this immortal soul. Every child that comes in has a Atman, the immortal chip of the divine, this the immortal soul, just like we do, but it's encased in a body, both emotional, energetic, and physical, that is not very well formed and that is not allowing expression of that true divine nature. And it's the same with us. We're a little bit farther along in the process, at least because we've gone through childhood and adulthood. It doesn't mean we're more necessarily more spiritual advanced. I mean, our child may have a very spiritually advanced soul, but the reality is during childhood, that soul is thrust into a body and an ego is created. What's the ego? The ego is the soul attached to the body. So the child comes in, this perfect soul, or which is then encased in this energetic body, which has been going through many incarnations. Whether you believe in reincarnation or not, it helps explain a lot that they are not clean slates when they come in. And I think you can all appreciate that from just watching your child. Say, wait, where did that come from? We never taught them that. That never came from our environment. They bring in a lot from the past. That's not the soul. That's the astral or energetic body, which they bring in. And then all that gets thrust into a very poorly formed physical body, which they have to learn how to control. They have to learn how to express themselves through. They have to learn how to adapt to the environment in which they're placed. And that's that, initial years of just getting into the physical body. And then from there, they have to start dealing with their emotional body. So anyway, back to the acceptance that we have to, the more, again, this is an ideal, the more we can look at our children as souls, the better off we are. These souls in these little bodies have been at it as long as we've been at it, trying to reach liberation, trying to evolve, trying to go through all these different incarnations. They have had millions of incarnations, just like us. At the moment, we're in a relationship as they're growing up where we have to steward them through trying to get back into this body, trying to deal with their ego, trying to deal with their emotions, trying to deal with all these things. But there may be tendencies there that are beautiful soul tendencies from the past. There may be also some very difficult things that have come with the astral body that we have to deal with. So it's tuning into seeing them as souls and then trying to accept, okay, this is what my child is bringing. Where I don't know where it came from. Don't blame yourself because if you have a 2 or 3 year old and they start manifesting these things, how much of that really came from us? How much did it really come from we screwed up in our upbringing or we manifested or we imposed on somebody something that came from our childhood? Some of it, but at those early years, maybe not that much. We're dealing with a soul that's been or a personality, really that's been through many, many incarnations and evolutions, and we've probably been together. Buddha said, that we've probably been everybody's mother, father, friend, enemy at some point during these millions of incarnations. And so This probably isn't the first time we've been together with his soul. Maybe in the past, he or she was our parent, or he or she was a brother or a friend or something. So try to take that step back and impersonalize it and put it into that context of, this isn't a new being that I'm responsible for, that I brought into the world, and it's completely dependent on me, the good or the bad or whatever, and this is my possession that I have to steward. Forget that. This is a soul that's been brought into your life, that you have an obligation for stewardship, for helping the best you can, and it's an opportunity to help the child grow, and it's also an opportunity for us to help us to grow. So that acceptance has to start with ourselves. We have to say, okay, this is what's happening. This is where it's at. This is what happened. I just got really angry at my child. I have to accept that. It's not going to help anything to say, no, 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 I'm a spiritual person. I don't get angry. And it was because of some outside circumstances. Well, guess what? No. Your consciousness in that moment was stimulated by this little child, and you got really angry. You got to accept it. As soon as you can accept it and look at it, you can take that step back. You can give yourself some space and say, okay, now what do I do? Then you bring out your toolbox and said, all right, I'm angry. What's the best thing right here? Should I continue to yell at my child? Because, of course, they respond best when I yell at them and match the emotional level that they have. Well, try it. It doesn't usually work. So, or is it, okay, we're not going to resolve this right now because I'm in an agitated space. I'm no longer in my center. Something came up for me, and I have to shift my consciousness. I have to bring that energy back up. So when we talk about bringing energy up and down in consciousness, one way to think of it is just there's energy coming into the body. It gets stuck in the different energy centers. Things come up, emotions, physical reactions. What you want to try to do to stay accepting and centered is bring the energy inward and upward instead of having it go outward in emotions or express outward or in physical things. Try to bring it back in. And the more you can raise it into the higher chakras of calmness, of heart opening expansion, of intuitive insight at the spiritual eye. So take that energy of the anger. I have to shift that energy because it's taken me out of my center. And when I'm in an agitated situation, it's not going to work for my child. It's going to agitate them because, as Bhaktimarg said, they respond to our energy as well. So, what are you going to do? Deep breathing, focus the spiritual eye, chant, mantras. There's all these yoga tools, or what works for you. Just get out, do something. Just say, okay, we're going to go do something else. And, obviously, sometimes you have to bring your child with you, but, get outside, but leave behind what it was that changed you. So, Bhakti Mark.
I just want to say that one time I was very upset and I told my child, Mom, this time out. And I went to my timeout, I relaxed, and he was so quiet and respected my quiet time. So, sorry, keep going, but that was
Yeah.
a good one.
So, and you have to read the situation and see what works. But again, that first step in acceptance is awareness of being able to remove yourself from that emotional, energetic agitation that you're in when you find yourself arguing with your child, angry at your child, upset to the point of tears, something is coming up. You have to recognize, whoops, okay, that's not where I want to be. How can I shift that energy and figure out some ways to do that? We can talk about some other methods. I'm sure you've all thought about that, but you're not going to have the wherewithal to choose that unless you have the awareness that you're out of your center. And that comes with meditation. Then what comes more with being in your center, the more you can stay in that center, the more you recognize when you're getting pulled out of it. And again, it's not to say, no, 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 I'm not agitated. I'm not out of my center. I'm a perfect yogi. Yogis don't get angry. No, no, I'm a great parent. I can't do this. Accept where they are, get some distance, step back, shift the energy. And that's what's going to help the most. Because again, as Bhaktimarg was saying, what do the children respond to? They respond to our energy. I mean, I am constantly in awe of one of the teachers here at Ananda Living Wisdom School who taught our son, Mark. I think she's probably presented for you guys here, Narani. Narani is, every time I've seen her working with children or things, she is always in the center and she is always really saying, she's not blaming the child. She's just, okay, what does this child need right now? How can I really approach this? But she's so trained herself to be so calm and loving that the energy that gets the child receives is not the energy of a reprimand or a correction, even when it's very, very necessary. It's a loving energy of saying, okay, this may not be working so well. How are we going to shift this? And the children can respond to that. And so the more that we can come with that energy, it's not always, there's going to be, there's going to be tantrums that it's just, okay, we gotta let this tantrums on my part or tantrums on the child's part. We got to let this calm down before we're going to do anything. But the more you can come from a centered, loving place or an intuitive, your voice, your eyes, what you're doing, the children will respond to that. And it's not easy. I mean, it's all say, oh, yeah, I'll just be a loving parent. Because guess what? You just got agitated. You just got out of your center. Your consciousness just dropped. And if you're in that space, it's not very easy to come up with that loving thing. So awareness, step back, shift the energy, and realize you're really not going to change the situation and make progress until you can come with that centered, loving energy. And so it might be just like Bhakti Mark said, let's take a time out. Let's just let's just not deal with this right now. The coloring book said, okay, why don't we just go out for a walk? Why don't we just have breakfast? Let's just leave this for now. And whether the child can leave it or not, you don't know. But it starts with, can I leave it? I'm agitated. I'm upset. I would say, but do I have the wherewithal and the training to say, okay, I'm not I'm not going to have success here. I'm going to just leave this right now. I'm going to, and the title, give it to God. You say, if that works for you, just say, okay, God, okay, Guru, okay, angel, guardian angels, okay, divine beings, I need help here, just give it up. And that's another way that you can help get out of it. But it's important to monitor your own energy, accept where it is, and realize that to make real progress changes, be the parent you want to be, you need to come from a centered position. So I'll give it back to Mike.
Thank you. I just want to share a little story from Narani's, and it was very interesting when she had a child in the classroom that he usually didn't say the truth. I mean, he was just saying lies. And Narani didn't know what to do. It's like, oh my gosh, what I'm going to do with this. One thing Narani does, and I know this for fact, she prays for every single child in the classroom. And as parents, it's so important to pray for our children. Is is part of the training. It's part of the way that you can be the best parent that you can. So anyway, so Narani was praying, and suddenly, for those of you who know Virani, who is the one who takes care of the goats in Ananda Village, and she's a woman that it has so much energy, such a big heart, and always express herself. It's like a lot of feeling coming out of her. So she lost $100. And I think Narani or somebody found it. And Narani gave those $100 to this child and asked him to go to Virani and give them to her. And the response of Narani was like, whoa, so thank you so much. So she was very expressive. And the child received that positive reinforcement because he wanted to keep that money. and instead was able to give it and receive this incredible amount of love. So that was a very creative way of dealing with this situation. So my Naran is just incredible, and I know that she gave a class here, so and it's recorded. Anyway, any thoughts, any questions, or otherwise we go to the questions we have in the chat. Okay.
One thing I just might add, there's another piece of the yogic teachings which is very important to keep in mind. I mean, we're here because we're evolving. Our children have been given, this is a way you can look at it. Our children, stewardship of these little souls and bodies have been given us to help us grow. So it's always a perfect situation for us to advance spiritually. And if you can impersonalize the relation, just see it from that. There's a gift from God. Yes, I'm helping this person, but this person is here for me and giving me what I need and what I need to change. The other incredibly important concept in yoga is nishkam karma, actions without desire for the fruits of the action. So if we're acting, raising our children because we want them, of course we want them to be perfect human beings and loving and the best that they can be. But you can't be attached to that. You have to say, this has been given to me by God. There's a whole lot going on here. I'm doing the best I can. I'm going to give the results back up to the divine, to the angels, to this. And I do my best, but hey, maybe I blew it, maybe I didn't. But don't think it's you who are doing this. As much as you can, that action without desire for fruits of the action, action without attachment. Because as you act with that ego attachment, it's going to continue to bind you and it's going to continue to move. We won't be able to perfect that relationship. So, okay, go
Uh,
ahead.
just following that, I'm going to share this story where our child was like 3.5 or 4 years old. He got very, very sick and he couldn't eat anything. He couldn't drink anything. And he was like that for a day after day. It looked like a very long time. And I was crying and crying. I didn't know what to do. I took him to the doctor. The doctor said, oh, it's a stomach flu. And I just didn't know what to do. And then, like the third or the fourth day, I thought, oh my gosh, I haven't prayed. I haven't prayed for help. So I stopped and I prayed. And believe it or not, the same day and shortly after, Atman, do you want to share that part of the story?
Yeah, there was a woman who in the community was from originally from Italy, from Europe. I mentioned it to her what was going on, and she said, "Oh, yeah, I've experienced that. It's acetonum." She had a name for it, and there's a homeopathic remedy for that. Here, I have one. Here, try this, and it worked. It like immediately took him out of it, and it was a sugar or enzyme sugars imbalances in the blood, but for some reason it wasn't diagnosed or known in this country, but in Italy it was, she knew about it and she had a homeopathic remedy and it just took it right out of it. So, it was amazing.
Yeah. So that's why praying is very, very important. And what happened to me the first few days, I was totally robbed emotionally in this situation that, my child was not eating, was not drinking, is going to die. So I just got into this mode and it was not easy to get out of it until I didn't see any other resources. And I say, okay, I need to pray. So learn from this mistake and pray first because it's
And
just
yeah, it's
amazing.
a hard lesson for us who are schooled in self-reliance and I should be doing this on my own. I'm failing on this. But why not ask for help to start with? No, it's been a very hard lesson for me in life, but just whatever higher source that you can relate to, whether it's a guru, whether it's the Divine Mother, whether it's other manifestation of God, whether it's a guardian angel, but something outside your help, outside yourself, there is grace in this world. There is thoughts are universally rooted. The solutions are all there. We can draw on it the more we are open and centered and putting it out there into the world. So start with that.
And we have a question here from Gayatri and says, I would love to hear your thoughts on how we as parents can deepen our faith in Divine Mother, trusting in her guidance and knowing that she provides everything we truly need, while also fulfilling our duties and responsibilities within family life. Well, trust is the way that you can really let go of the ego. And to develop that trust, you just have to, ideally, it will be before you have children, so you know that it works. That it will be ideal. But then, if you are in the middle of it, develop that trust, develop that friendship with the divine, whatever you want to call it, because that is going to give you the strength, and believe it or not, it's going to give you a lot of resources to be able to be the best parent that you can. And this is the other point too, is that you are not required to be a super father or super mother. You just need to do the best you can. And for the child is the same. And then remember, it's karma, and karma brings us the challenges that we need in this lifetime to grow. And this brings us to the next question that I think that is calling, what to do if your child have some, let me
If I
think.
could, I just want to add one thing on that. What I found important is to pay attention because sometimes situations will resolve themselves and you go, oh, that was really nice. That was lucky. And you sort of forget about it. But if you think, wait a minute, that was some sort of a higher consciousness or higher force, or there was something happened there that was from a higher place. Pay attention and remember that because again, we're wrapped in our egos and we tend to forget. We have this self-reliant thing and you go, oh yeah, no, that worked out. That was fine. But wait a minute, why did it work out? I wasn't getting there. And all of a sudden something shifted or a person came or something happened. So this could be with your children, with other people, but I like to think of making like a deposit in your spiritual bank account. So maybe write it down, have a journal, have a say, when the miraculous happens, take note of it and write it down because we tend to forget. And then if you're in a moment of St. John of the Cross put it, the dark night of the soul, where you're like, nobody's helping me and God's not out there and my kid is acting up and I feel terrible, open up your little journal, your little book and say, okay, yeah, God was there. God was there. God was there. Maybe it's, I'm not open right now because I'm in this. How do I get back to what happened? How was I feeling when that thing happened? So pay attention.
Thank you. And so the question is, let's see, I won't be able to join, but did want to ask about supporting our children through their challenging karma with non-attachment. Well, the challenging karma, here in the community, we have some parents that they have a child with cerebral palsy, another child that is being diagnosed within the spectrum and is very challenging. And what Atman said at the beginning is that you need to accept the way it is, but then you need to look for resources, all kinds of resources, from professional resources to spiritual resources, whatever you need, because as the saying goes, you need a village to raise a child. And this is very true. And now you have this group here in WhatsApp, and this is a village. So it's a great support that you can give each other. And especially with the different ages, some people already went through different stages, and that is a wonderful support. So karma is real. It brings to us what we need to learn and to grow closer to the divine. It's a tough one, it's very, very, very difficult, but it's there. So,
It's, it's that basic teaching of acceptance. Everything that comes to me is for my own spiritual growth, and I have brought it to me by my own past actions. If we can remember that, if you can, it's a very, very hard thing for the ego to accept. So, no, it's not my fault. I didn't want this. It isn't because this isn't this happened to me because it's wrong. That person did this, that person did that. If you can accept everything that comes to me is for my own advancement and spiritual growth, everything that comes to me is because of my own past actions.
Thank you. And there is another one. Let me see. I wanted to ask if you can talk a little bit about how to show love and care for our children and at the same time to be non-attached to the results of our education and to them as individuals. So not attached to the education or to them as individuals. Well, this is what we were talking a little bit. I mean, we've been talking about this. Anything else that you'd like to share about this? How to show love. And regarding love, something is very interesting. And I don't know if you, probably you experienced it yourself too, when you were growing up, is that how do you know that your parents love you? It's an interesting one because sometimes adults they don't feel like they've been loved by their parents, and the parents they do whatever they possible do to express that love, but the child may have another way of processing that information in terms of, well, I didn't receive any love, and it's like, well, what was love for you? Anyway, it's a something that it came up recently, and sometimes it's worth looking at it. And then we go back to you need to do the best you can. And that also is another phrase that you need to tattoo somewhere. That's the only thing that you've been asked is to do the best you can.
And
And yeah, go ahead.
give the results to God, to the divine, whatever. So again, taking it, starting on the higher philosophical level, which isn't always easy, but it's always good to know what is the truth that the great ones have given us, that real love is an impersonal thing. It is not an emotion. It is a sense of expansion of the heart, of connection with the oneness that's around it. And the ego blocks us from that flow of the love. And we have different experiences of love, which is often related to a specific relationship. It could be with a spouse. It can be with a child. As Bhaktimarg said, children is an incredibly heart-opening experience of, that sense of love. It's a love we may have never experienced before. But if that love stays grounded in the ego, in the emotions, it's not going to be that pure love that the child needs. And so the more we can think of it as, I am channeling love. Love is a divine force that exists in the universe. It's that divine force of connection, of oneness that we can channel through and out to another person. But if it gets wrapped into a relationship of I'm giving you this love because I expect this, and I give you love, you give me love back, or there's an expectation, there's a thing. Again, it has to be as much as we can, and it's very, very hard because we're all trapped in egos. But as much as we can is to tune into that impersonal flow of a divine love. That's what you're trying to transmit to your child, and not have that sense of attachment of, look, I just gave you all this love. I spent the whole afternoon doing everything I could. And how do you react? You have a tantrum, you throw stuff at me, you fall down on the floor. You still have to channel that love. You still have to do the best you can and try not to react. Again, the reaction is because that love, that energy was tied to the post of the ego. I was loving. If it's just I'm a channel for the divine love, it's not tied to that. Again, I have no delusions that this is easy, but to me, it's always helped to know what's the highest octave? What am I shooting for?
Thank you. And regarding that, also as parents, we really need to learn how to be a parent the best we can. We don't have any clues on how to be parents. When the child comes to this world, it's like, okay, now what? And you need to adapt to your child's needs. For instance, our son was dyslexic and he couldn't read until he was 12 years old. And he came home and said, Mom, why can't I read? I'm different. I mean, it was a heartbreaking experience. And then Narani suggested to take different workshops for dyslexia and also for the reading. And we gave him an incredible, thanks to Narani and thanks to the teachers that we went to, the support was fantastic. So within 3 months, he started reading. And that was like a miracle thing. But because we went to see people to ask for help, and we received it. And again, pray for the right help for your child, that it comes through the right person to you, and you can support him the best you can. Now, the next one is about teenagers, and this is Hansa. Hansa, would you like to share it since you are here?
Oh, well, I'd have
Dimitri
to
was
look at the
first.
WhatsApp if you have it in front of you.
Okay, I do, I have it. When children reach teenage years and rightful and naturally start to pull away to affirm themselves as a separate entity from their family, how can we best let go and let God while continuing to guide them within a healthy set of boundaries? Then there is another one. Adman, do you want to share some thoughts about that?
I think we should schedule another session for that because there's a lot of nuances and we're not, I don't know if we're going to give you a 1 minute answer, but one of the things that's very important is looking back at education for life. The teenage years are the will years. So they're starting to develop that sense of agency, of will, of I need to do things. And it tends to come out as rebellion against authority, especially if you're feeling that it's the parent is a little overbearing or the teacher or they're not relating to it. And what we want to do is to channel that need for challenge, for them putting their will. Will is energy directed with feeling towards a goal. So there's the enthusiasm, there's the energy directed toward a specific thing. That's a definition of willpower or will. Try to direct it into healthy things because what usually happens, that rebellion, that assertion goes into often some wrong things. It goes into sex, it goes into drugs, it goes into, rebellion against authority and laws. And that's where teens get into a lot of trouble. But what they're really trying to do is to assert their own agency. And so what Nitai, especially directing the high school, he would always try to give them challenges that help to direct energy in an expansive way, like have them go serve in a soup kitchen or challenge them to do a secret service thing. Let's all help our neighbor. Let's do this. Or, give them something that they have to work on. They have to put their energy in, but the result is going to go into a positive direction. And teenagers will respond. If it's instead of just saying no, if we can help them direct that energy, they don't necessarily want to go, into a bad place. Or if they have gone that way, said, you can help them see how did that feel? Did that give you what you want? And they may get more rebellious, but try to direct that energy, help them assert their agency, their willpower, their growth of coming into this, this movement into a more of a independent adulthood.
And bringing Nitai and the high school for education for life, one of the things that they do with the wheel years, the 12-year-old to the 18-year-old, is giving adventures. So it's about adventures, joy, and academics. And the adventure is very important. Like, think about what you can do with your child. And if you go for a trip and between 12 and 18, ask the child to find the places that he wants to see, discover the city, give him workshop, things to do to manifest that trip, and even in raising some money for whatever it is. So that is an important one. And the other thing that I want to make a point here for teenagers, everybody says, the teenagers, it's awful, they give you a lot of problems, da, da, da. But we didn't. We had a really nice teenage years with Mark, I have to say. And looking back, what I noticed is that when he was young, we were there for him. One of the things that is very important for children is to always tell them the truth. And even to the level of if they go to a school and you need to pick them up, if you are late, find a way for them to know that you're going to be late, whatever time, and this is what you're going to be doing, and you need to let them know. Because if you think that be late 5-10 minutes for a 3-4-5-year-old is fine, it may not be fine for them. And then they don't trust you. And the way I see it is that when they get into the teenage years, they pass the receipt. They start acting up the way that they felt when they felt abandoned or, unjustified, punished, or whatever. That's anyway. That's my theory. But if you are agreeing with that, let me know. For those of you who already have the teenagers. But anyway, it's an interesting one. And the next question, just a minute, it closed. Well, Hansa also says, we've maybe all heard of attachment parenting, and here we are talking about non-attachment. Non-attachment. Children need to feel a deep sense of security to grow into their potential, and also to feel strongly connected to their parents, families, and community. So when we talk about non-attachment, to what is it appropriate to not be attached to? Just to not be attached to the results of your own actions. The expectations we have to let them go. And Ivara, I think you just helped me realize why I was so rebellious a teenager, young adult. So my theory works.
I think one of the things to help us with this is we have to give to our children. We have to be channels of love. We have to be channels of education. We have to be channels of reason. We have to do all that. As Bhaktimarg said, we have to be there for them. But that doesn't necessarily imply an attachment. What is attachment? Attachment is in your own consciousness. How am I reacting to this? Am I the one who's taking responsibility, credit, kudos, strokes, getting love back because I'm doing this? That's the attachment. It's not to say impersonality is not to say I shouldn't give all these things. It's I should give all these things, but not be tied to it, to the ego, to myself, to the sense of agency. I am a channel. It's critical that we give all these things, that they do feel that support, that they do feel all that. The attachment comes and the downfall comes is how do we react to that? What is that doing to our consciousness? And the more we get tied to it, I'm the doer, I'm doing this is great, I'm a great parent, I'm a terrible parent, this is it. That's where the downfall comes in. That's the non-attachment.
Thank you so much. And now the last question here is, what if there is a divorce during teenage years? How does that affect the child identifying formation? Identity, I'm sorry. How that affect the child's identity formation? It's very interesting because, of course, divorce is going to happen. And the main thing is that is agreeable. So if the parents are friends and the child doesn't have to go through a lot of emotional thing. And the other point too, that now some people are doing is that instead of the children going to the house of the father for this time, the house to the mother for that time, what they do is the children stay in the house and they're the parents, the one who are changing. So the child or children have their own room, their own home, and they are secure there, and they don't have to go back and forth like a tennis ball. So that helps a lot. And again, the friendship, and then you may need the guidance of a good psychologist or somebody to support
Yeah.
the.
It's obviously a really difficult thing that depends on cultures and relationships and what's been before and who are the personalities, and it's hard to give it. I just know that it's a trauma. It's something that you have to really pay attention to, and that when parents come to the point of divorcing with teenage children, it's the marriage is a trauma for them. It's very difficult sometimes to say, yeah, we're just going to be maintain friends, that there's usually some other kind of energy there. But it is possible. There was a divorce in the community where the child actually was a catalyst for it happening. And she actually went in her teenage years to the parents and said, look, you guys are driving each other crazy. You guys aren't happy. And, when you're together, you're just creating more tension. And I love you both and you love me, but maybe you shouldn't be living together. And that's fine with me. So it can happen. It's not necessarily the rule. And again, it's a difficult situation that the more we can accept and impersonalize, and that means more than anything else, getting beyond a feeling of blame and animosity to the spouse, because that's what I think. I don't know, I haven't gone through this, and I haven't had close relatives who have gone through this, so I don't know, I'm not an expert, but that animosity, we have a child who's being supported and loved by two parents, yet those two parents who are both channeling and trying to help the child cannot agree and actually express hatred, animosity, anger, very strong emotions. That I think is the source of a lot of the conflict, a lot of the difficulty. And so, again, it's a very hard thing, but if you're a parent in a divorce, I need to get out of this, the more you can keep looking at your ex-spouse as a soul. We tried, we did the best. I wish him the best. It just didn't work. But depersonalize that. Try to get out of that emotional charge, because that's what's going to affect the children.
Yeah. And also, the same person is asking, what is the spiritual approach in case a family has to go through such an experience? Would you like to address that?
I mean, the spiritual approach is keep meditating as much as you can, keep praying, asking for help. If both parents are spiritual, you can try to communicate on that level of a soul to soul. Say, look, our egos clashed, our personalities clashed. This just didn't work out, but we're still souls. We still respect each other. We're still on the path. Let's do the best we can for a child. If one of the spouses is not on the spiritual path and one is, then it's a more one-sided thing. But whatever we do in life, the best thing we can do is to stay centered, keep trying to raise our consciousness, being aware of where we're attached, being aware of our emotional reactions, and trying to keep shifting that energy. And if dealing with a divorce takes you down into emotions of this, all right, what am I going to do? How am I going to prepare for this? Do I need help? Can I meditate more? Do I need a spiritual counselor? Can I do this? But keep that spiritual understanding of, where do I want to go? I want to be in joy. I want to be centered. That's when my consciousness and energy is uplifted, when I have a more connection to something outside myself. The more I close down on my own emotions, my own ego, my energy is going downward, the worse I'm going to feel, the worse the outcome is going to be. So just to try to keep that in mind.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Any other? And just remember, we are humans. So don't try to make a super mother, a super father. Just bring down to the earth
Get
and do your
as
best.
Bhaktimarg mentioned, support. I mean, having support of other parents, a support group like this, I mean, it was essential for us. We'd go talk to other parents and said, how do you do this? What's going on here? And, people, the best advice is, this too shall pass. You're in something that's so much in the moment. The child's changing at an incredibly rapid rate. Can you change as well? Can you let go of this? Okay, we were there 3 months ago, but now it's something different. Okay, let's keep going.
Enjoy. And as Atman was telling me when I was raising our child, it was, you need to survive the experience. It's always, you need to survive the experience. So balance it with something that you like to do. So you need to balance to be a mother the best you can, to be a wife the best you can, to be yourself. Take some time out and nurture yourself too. It's very important. Don't give, and then feel empty. Try to recharge yourself with whatever you like to do, that it really helps you achieve that, and enjoy the process. Just the other thing here, the other thing for non-attachment, first, non-attachment is not to ignore. Some people confuse those two terms. It's not ignoring their child or ignoring their behavior or whatever. Non-attachment is really be centered and giving space to your child to be who he is and to keep your emotions in check. So enjoy the process. Many blessings. And if you're a Kriya band, keep doing Kriya. If you are not, take the path of Kriya and take Education for Life programs. That really saved my life, using Education for Life, because you learn how to use the energy of the child and your energy and how to direct that energy in a positive way, and is excellent. So there are books too, and I think you have all the resources, Gayatri, there in the webpage, and you have Usha's book. Go ahead.
So ananda.org/families has so many resources. It has all the education for life. It has all of the books about spiritual parenting, blogs, videos. All of these recorded satsangs go there. So check it out. It's a wealth of knowledge.
Wonderful. And you're going to have a family program in the summer?
Yes, so we'll have summer camp a few weeks after the centennial next summer. So if you want to stick
That is going to
around
be
for
in July.
July 22nd, I believe, to the 26th. But we'll also have family things during the centennial as well. So those are two great ways to come with your families to the village.
And do you know if Ananda CC is going to have any programs for the families at some point?
Probably in September. I believe they're still going to have it, even with the centennial, but it will be a little bit later, more September of 2026.
Wonderful. So you have events in Europe and you have events in California, and we'll look forward to see you in person. So thank you so much, everyone. It's a joy to be here with you sharing, and many
Blessings
blessings.
on the journey.
Thank you so much,
guys.
Thank
Thank you everyone who joined. Bye-bye.
Our
Bye.
joy. Bye.
Thank you.